Hello, this is Michael Hexter. Welcome again to my Politics 2100 videocast here on YouTube. So this episode I'm calling "The Right Wing and Neoliberals Want to Abolish Our Governmental quote-unquote auxiliary superego." So I am doing a couple different things in this video. One of them is I am linking to the most recent video I did about deontological ethics. And in this case, I am making more of a social, psychological, psychoanalytic perspective on it. And I'm also advancing I would say it's a general theory of human behavior that is independent of a political orientation, though it can be and is being politicized. So, but I'm not. I'm upfront about my left-wing biases and or interest and perspective. But I think some of the things I say are not exclusively applicable to people with my particular perspective. But anyway, so the word. So let me just go through the word superego comes from psychoanalysis, comes from Sigmund Freud, or Über-Ich was the word he used in German. Anyway, the over-I and that's the way it was translated into English, superego. And so the ego being the I, the Ich. And but anyway, his thought was that people develop a conscience by internalizing early childhood figures like their parents, like father and mother, and one of those images is, or one of those instances in the psyche he called the Über-Ich, or the superego. But anyway, other people, you don't have to be psychoanalytically oriented to understand that some people tend to have a conscience, or some people have a stronger conscience. Some people are more conscientious than others, are some people are more empathic than others, though those are slightly different things. But anyway, but I'm using this terminology because it's kind of this handy object, the superego, that we think is, somewhere, or, it could be, there's a series of, in brain, it could be in the prefrontal cortex plus some of the limbic system, some connections between those, systems that lead one to act as if one has a conscience and be conscientious. And so, anyway, but I'm advancing here a new idea that basically that we, in general, people rely on a social environment to reinforce their superego. That's something that social psychologists study all the time, and it's a commonplace in social psychology that the social environment facilitates certain behaviors, sometimes by imitation, sometimes by oversight or of some kind, sometimes the threat of some kind of punishment. And then government is just, once you think government is sort of this big actor creating that environment, and that's what I'm calling our society in general, or our community, functions in part as an auxiliary superego to help bring us out of our more selfish selves and to act in a way that's more pro-social in some form or other. And then government is one part of that, and creates rules, or with law, it has laws that it enforces that further encourages us to act in ways that are pro-social. And so, but anyway, this commonsensical idea, and that is universally, not universally, but it's very commonly and widely understood, and people act in everyday life as though this is commonsensical, that, was anybody watching, literally, is anybody watching, can we do this thing, this thing that's not entirely pro-social or whatever it is. So I mean, it's not everybody who asks that question, but it's not an uncommon thought that people have about maybe even just sort of a minor, not necessarily a criminal or a legal issue, but just sort of some kind of minor social faux pas that they wish hadn't been seen by someone else. So anyway, this facilitating superego, let's call it, that is not just something that's contained in an individual self, okay, in an individual body or individual mind. It's an interactive process. And so I think it helps to look at people as being on a spectrum in terms of how much of a conscience they have, how responsive they are either to that external prompting, or also how much they prompt themselves. In other words, that they of themselves decide to do things that are good, or that are pro-social, or that are considerate of others, or considerate of the whole society, that are thinking about their duty to other people. That's when I talked about deontological ethics. That's about your sense of duty to others, and to following rules that are supposedly good rules for the society, the group as a whole. And so anyway, we have now political groups that are screaming bloody murder, about things like, and inventing all kinds of extreme conspiracies about, in particularly with regard to the pandemic, but you can extend with the COVID-19 pandemic, but you can extend this to also climate change, almost any social challenge we have coming up, where we have to act, in concert as a large social group, as a society, to address something. And so we have the Koch network, for instance, funding anti-mask protests. This is a news item that came out. I'll put a link in the description box today. So we have people like Tucker Carlson, or other right-wing figures, trying to draw out as much as possible any scaremongering they can out of this vision of a government that is imposing a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate, or even taking a step back from that, the idea that there might be some climate legislation somewhere that might affect driving, or the activities that Americans unfortunately do a lot of, and are damaging to especially using oil, or using fossil fuels, or to do those things that we tend to do a lot of. And so any suggestion that there would be some kind of a mandate or a change in policy that would affect those things immediately has triggered this torrent of dark fantasies, political dark fantasies, and some of them are not necessarily fantasies, but they're fears, okay, but with lots of fantastical exaggeration of what might come down the line in terms of a Green New Deal, okay, a policy I think which is absolutely necessary for our country to undertake, and one that is transformative and that is therefore challenging to these individuals and to their worldview. But anyway, I'm trying to, I think, to try to explain this sort of, it's not just a matter of sort of political flavors. Like this is just, oh, that's just a right-wing flavor. That what I'm trying to explain is the mechanics of it. So that what they're really trying to do is they're trying to say, we don't need this auxiliary superego, or that we're afraid of it and we think it's going to become the big communist auxiliary superego or the big communist totalitarian superego that was erected by some communist parties in some countries during the course of the 20th century. And so they immediately lump every auxiliary superego function of society, and also particularly helped by government, into this category. So you can basically have no auxiliary superego. Everybody is doing everything they can from inside their little sort of a bubble. Let's call it an individualized bubble of conscience plus money plus property, which is the worldview of many on the right wing, including the neoliberal philosophy, which also penetrates, unfortunately, into the center and the parts of the left wing as well. So there's an idea. So basically, what I'm saying is commonsensical, that everybody should recognize is that to live in a society, we require some kind of auxiliary conscience, auxiliary superego that helps us do pro-social things, that helps us follow laws, that helps us beyond laws follow precepts of good behavior that are facilitative of the society improving in some form or other, beyond just sort of simply complying with one law or another, that who knows might even become a law in the future of some kind, because they are so positive, or whatever it is or we need to do them for a variety of reasons. For instance, we need to cut our carbon emissions to zero within a decade or so. So and maybe 15 years max. Okay, and so that and that's just a matter of physics. Okay, and it's not a matter of my personal preference about the time frame, or it's just a matter of, and I think that the people on the right wing, and this is where the willfulness comes in, the idea that you can substitute your own preferences for the physical world and the parameters of the physical world, which require us to remain within a certain temperature range for us to be able to survive and other species to survive. Anyway, it's not a choice that I have or that they have to do. But anyway, so this language I'm presenting here is I think gets to what I feel to be the heart of this, I would say, denial of reality by the right wing. They're denying that people need help in living together in society in some, and in the case of a vaccine mandate, they need the help of getting the vaccine in order not to infect other people and keep themselves safe and also their loved ones safe to against this new pathogen. Okay, and it is not every instance of governmental being this helper superego, this helper function, is not the instance of what happened in the Soviet Union and in communist China and in North Korea and other countries particularly in the sort of Stalinist period or the hyper-Maoist period of their development, where they basically attempted to make government the only superego, the only that they didn't allow people to develop their own ability to act according to their own initiative and own creativity, and instead substituted governmental rules for that. And so there's a difference between government facilitating people, which happens all the time, and recognizing that that can change over time, in other words, and the end point of, or the not end point is the wrong word, but the extreme example of a totalitarian society, and if people on the right wing are convinced that every instance of that facilitation is, I mean, then they're living in a either they're manipulating other people to become very, very afraid and become instruments of political power for them. So to make people so frightened and so scared of their paranoid. I think I was paranoid. The paranoid schizoid core. They're trying to make people so frightened that they can be used to as political battering rams against some political project that they don't like. I'm talking about the leadership, the sociopaths leading these efforts, the manipulators, the Machiavellians. Okay, if you want to give them a little bit of a break, but anyway, either they're that, or they're just simply they're entirely out to lunch, in the sense of they're really living in a psychosis, where they're not recognizing this fact that we live in a society where we require to live together some facilitation of our behavior by other people, by the community, and also by government, and the rules and the enforcement of laws, and it would, you can think of thousands and thousands of daily instances where this is the case. So anyway, so I think what I'm trying to say in this particular video, as opposed to the last video, those other videos, is that there's really a reality portion of this here, that it's not a matter of my political taste. I mean, it happens to be the fact that the left tends to be more accepting of this fact than the right wing, but it's still a fact. So it's not something that it's indisputable. It's not a matter of my taste. It's like I might have a taste more for, thinking that people are, so wonderfully virtuous that they don't need the help of a auxiliary, that people are automatically and autonomously good, and they don't require any help from others, but that's never, not never the case, but it's so rarely the case, and it doesn't make sense to make any political program out of it. And unfortunately, it's used as a phony excuse not to do very basic things like vaccine mandates, like mask wearing in schools, because this, and I'm maybe going on a little bit long here, but the worldview, the cosmology of this right-wing worldview, or this neoliberal worldview, with all these isolated individuals, atomized individuals, is that the virus, a communicable, could be COVID-19, could be another airborne virus, we share the air, so it literally creates immediately creates a problem for this worldview of little autonomous, isolated individuals, and that or isolated social groups, and that it explodes that worldview, and so that's immediately it's created this explosion of sometimes psychotic political action by people, and they're threatened by the idea that we share an air, that we are, including people of different colors, of different races, whatever, different nations, and so it's very dangerous for them, okay, and it's just reality though. So it's if it's an argument, they're having an argument with reality. That's pretty much, and it's not because I'm a better person for standing up for it. I'm just standing up here for reality, and so that's the stance that I am putting forward here in this video. And maybe if you have, please comment, because it's a particular aspect of reality. I'm focusing on and I am inventing a term for something that is broadly understood to be commonsensical for most people who are not highly politicized. And so I just want to, I want to, hear what, your responses in the comments if you have any. And also, if you like the video, please like it. And if you're liking the content on Politics 2100 in general, please subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.